Hello, my name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. On this episode, my co-host, Mr. Billy Pollihan, and I will be discussing the musical classic Meet Me in St. Louis. Billy, why is this such an essential film for you to see and for us to talk about today?
Well, this is essential because I'm actually from St. Louis, so I figured why not?
Well, it's in the book right here, The Essentials by TCM and Robert Osborne and Jeremy Arnold. And, if those guys say it's an essential movie for us to talk about, then we're going to talk about it. And that's why I chose Mr. Billy Pollihan, because he is a film lover and he's from St. Louis. So I knew he would really be excited to talk about this one. So let's get it started. Meet Me in St. Louis. There's kind of a story behind this movie. This movie really wasn't going to get made, except the movie that Warner Brothers wanted to make, something like something my father or something or other my father or whatever it was. They did not want to get the rights to that Broadway play get turned into a movie yet. They wanted to let it go around the country a couple times, really sit on Broadway for a long time. And so Warner Brothers, they kind of looked around, looked for films, and they found this play that wasn't really a popular play, wasn't really something everybody was clamoring for. So they decided to make this play. Well, wouldn't you know, they got one of the all-time great actresses, which helped this movie be successful. And I think Billy knows who I'm talking about. That's Judy Garland. She plays Esther Smith. Talk about Judy Garland as an actress, of what you remember her from, obviously The Wizard of Oz, her career. And if there's any of the other actors in the cast that you were really kind of caught your eye in the story or whatever, because I got the whole cast right here in front of me, Billy.
Yeah. I'm going to stop right there and tell you that it was actually MGM. It was not Warner Brothers.
All right, MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, gotcha.
Yeah, because Judy Garland was under their contract. Same with Wizard of Oz. But yeah, Judy Garland's obviously she's the big marquee star, which they used to sell this movie. And she does get a considerable amount of screen time and does a great job. But I really I actually like some of the younger kids, like Tootie, who's Margaret O'Brien, is pretty good. I love the older sister, Rose, played by Lucille Bremer. John Truitt, the love interest for Esther, Tom Drake is awesome. And Mr. Smith, Mr. Alonzo Smith, Leon Ames, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but I thought he did a wonderful job. Everybody in this cast did a wonderful, wonderful job. And yeah, let's get into it. And also some of the best songs ever in any musical.
Before we get into the songs, yeah, I want to just comment on what you said. Leon, he doesn't come into the movie till a little ways into the movie, because he's a lawyer and he's out doing his job, but he plays a pivotal role in the story because he's kind of like the girls and the mother and the maid and everybody. They all have this kind of like romantic life. Like, they love where they live in St. Louis, and they have these men that they want to marry and all this kind of stuff. And he's kind of like the tough guy in this story. Like, he always brings the bad news or the sad news to the story, and he really brings the story more back down to earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. He kind of reminds me of Mr. Banks from Mary Poppins. The dad from Mary Poppins. He's he's the gruff, stern, and disciplined dad, but you know he does it because he loves his children and his wife. And I mean, life's hard, so you got to have at least one character that's like that. They can't all be romanticized or have these feelings of, you know, like everything's going to be great, or how wonderful our life is, because, you know, you got to provide for the family as well. So I think, yeah, I thought it balanced everything out, but it didn't affect the overall tone. Like it didn't affect the feeling of really optimism in this movie that I got out of it.
Yeah, so did I. I really love the you know, the story. The overall story had a really good message about love and family and whatnot. And it takes place at the turn of the century in 1903 in St. Louis, and it's basically around this big house in St. Louis, and we have these, I believe, 5 daughters and 1 son. Rose, Esther, are 2 of the daughters. Tootie is one of the daughters.
Agnes.
And Agnes is the other daughter, and those are the 5 daughters. And the daughters.
Oh, 4.
4.
Yeah, that's 4.
4. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's 4 daughters and 1 son. There's 4 daughters and 1 son, and they all range in ages, you know, from toddler up to like basically just getting out of high school and whatnot, or just going into college or whatever. And so you have a lot of different age ranges from the girls. Of course, we get this whole storyline involving, hey, let's change dinner so we can wait for Rose to get a phone call from this guy that's in New York. And this is one of the romantic storylines that's going on. And also the Esther character is kind of smitten with the guy next door. So we get these 2 romantic storylines going on in the film. And these stories are up and down throughout the movie. We don't know what's going to happen with these 2 storylines. What do you think about these 2 romances, these budding romances, the possibility of marriage bells ringing here, Billy?
I mean, how they approach it is in 2 different ways. I mean, one is obviously just waiting for the marriage proposal, which is Rose is waiting for her boyfriend to propose, whereas Esther is just smitten with this guy, John, the next door neighbor, and they have to build on that relationship. Whereas the older sister has already built up that relationship, and it's like it shows different progression of, you know, courtship, the actual relationship, and then subsequently marriage. And I thought it was awesome because they were very similar in age, but they sort of handled it differently. Like Esther sort of just stays her ground, and if she thinks something is wrong, and she does think something is wrong later in the film, she confronts him about it, and it's something that I appreciated, because it's like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Of course, there's trouble in any relationship. And Rose's, it's very romanticized. It's very much like a Disney princess sort of thing, where she meets the guy, falls in love. Except in this case, she's already met him. And yeah, I really liked the romance that they did in this, because they took their time. It wasn't immediate, and it just felt very organic to me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. I mean, I felt like, you know, in 1903, obviously the way courtship and romances and relationships work were a lot different than today. So it was interesting how the dichotomy of how today's relationships would work, and back then it's, you know, the things you have to do to get a girl to go out with you, and so forth, in marriage and whatnot. I mean, it was kind of interesting how they handled all that in the film. one of the things that I loved is also is that, like, if there's like a plot device in the movie, like they're getting on the trolley, or they're getting they're doing something, you know, it's Christmas time, or if it's whatever, they just break out into song. And you mentioned the songs earlier, and they start out with obviously the title of the movie, "Meet Me in St. Louis," and this is kind of a plot device, because this is like the title of the World's Fair. The World's Fair, or the fair of the United States, or whatever it's going to be, is going to be in St. Louis. So we have this whole "Meet Me in St. Louis." Everybody's sick of this song because the fair is so far away. They've been talking about the fair, but the song is really catchy and fun. When Tootie does it, the old guy, Harry Davenport, Grandpa, he's singing it and stuff. And let's talk about that song, and we'll get into some of the other songs in the film.
Yeah, it's a very simple tune. The lyrics are also very easy to learn, and it's just one of those things that it's the simple songs that make the most impact. It's like the same thing with "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." It's actually a very easy song to learn, and the music is also very easy to play, but it's what it means, and it's just a whole. It's like the build up to this fair, because the World's Fair is huge. Like that was probably the biggest fair up at that time, and it was like 7 months away when the film starts, and people are just so excited they can't stop talking about it, because basically people from pretty much everywhere in the United States are coming to St. Louis for this fair, and it's just it's a good rallying cry. It gets everybody's spirits up, except for obviously the father, and that's just because, you know, he's a lawyer and life is complicated.
Yeah. All right. So then we got, of course, the boy next door, and um, and my skipping my darling, skip to my Lou, my darling. Of course, we all know what "Skip to My Lou, My Darling" is. We've all heard that 1,000 times. Everybody sings "Skip to My Lou, My Darling" when they're a little kid. I'm sure you knew somebody that did "Skip to My Lou, My Darling" at some point in your life, right?
Oh yeah, it was one of those classic nursery rhyme songs that everybody at least was aware of.
Yeah. And then "Under the Bamboo Tree," "Over the Banister," and the trolley song. Those are kind of some of the songs in the middle of the movie that they kind of get the plot moving along in a way, you know?
Trolley song is one of the best. It's probably my second favorite song in the entire film. And a lot of these songs, you cannot deny their fame is made by Judy Garland. She is a fantastic, fantastic singer who, I mean, she really does carry those songs. I did not feel bored at any point, and I was totally invested because, you know, she was invested.
Yeah, you feel like that she is in the story, that the story is actually taking place, and she's singing these songs about the life and the story that's going on in the movie. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, a song to me that's one of the underrated songs in the whole movie is because you don't see a lot with the parents. And you and I'm skipping over "Boys and Girls Like You and Me," but that's another one where the girls are singing and they're singing about the relationships and the ups and downs of dating and courtship and so forth and whatnot. And a big dance is a dance number going on. But we'll get to that. I just want to say "You and I" is a huge song in my opinion, because you don't get a lot of romance and story involving the mother and the father. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice it was a nice quiet song that because a lot of these songs, like the Trolley song or Under the Bamboo Tree, they're usually at like a big party or there's like a big gathering of people, and this one is just a very intimate song with the mother and father, and yeah, it shows it's like we were young once, and those were good times, and I also like it. I mean, of course, they're not my favorite. I will I will save that for the second half of the movie.
Well, the second half of the movie, there is a song. See, I'm not going to give away the plot of the film just yet. We gave a little bit of the plot at the beginning of the movie. We will be spoiling in this review. This is a spoiler-filled show. We spoil these movies because we love them so much that we're talking about them. We're giving our adoration towards these films. So we are spoiling these films. And like this film came out in 1944. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but we are talking about it in spoiler form. The last song in the movie is a little song called "Have Yourself a Merry
Little Christmas.
Christmas," and it's where Esther is singing to Tootie, and there's a huge decision in like the imitable. It's very close to being decided, this decision, one way or the other in the film. But this song is just a song that from forever has been, we remember this song from this movie. And it's a song everybody sings every Christmas, every holiday season, every town and every church and every city and every state in all over the United States, maybe in other countries, sing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." And obviously that song means a lot to you as well, Billy.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite song in the movie, and I'm gonna go on a little rant here as to why. The whole message of the song is just have a great Christmas, and Christmas is my favorite holiday because it is the one time of year when everybody seems to be going out of their way just to do good for themselves, and not just because they don't have to. They're doing it just because it's a holiday that, you know, for Christians Jesus was born, or it's the end of the year, but let's celebrate the end of the year. And you're right, this song has been sung multiple times by like Karen Carpenter, James Taylor, Michael Bublé. Like you can go on, and there are many versions that I love. Like my mom, who you saw back there towards the beginning of the episode, she listens to the Carpenters soundtrack, the Carpenters Christmas soundtrack, and "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," the Karen Carpenter version, is one of her favorite songs of all time. And it's one of those songs that I don't care what mood I'm in. It's just it'll bring a smile to your face because it's just a very, again, the theme is very simple song, and the lyrics are very powerful. Like through the years we will all be together if the fates allow. You know, just have yourself a merry little Christmas. It's great, and Judy Garland knocks it out of the park, like 100%.
Yeah, she really does. I mean, there is a reason why she's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, and if anybody says she isn't, then you just don't know what great films are. Because Julie Garland, I mean, with Wizard of Oz and Meet Me in St. Louis and a number of other films, she's really good, really good at. All right, so I mean, I wanted to just say this. I forgot to say this to be. Sally Benton is the author of the book that this is based on. This is based off of a book that was turned into a play, and then they got the playwrights, and then they turned it into a movie. But it wasn't as popular as something My Father, blah, blah, blah. I can't think of the rest of the name of the other one. And okay, so the main plot of the story is this. These girls have their romances. The kids have their school. Everybody's happy in St. Louis. The father comes home one day, And the father is, again, Leon Ames, Mr. Alonzo Smith. Mr. Alonzo Smith comes home one day and says, guess what, guys? I have just been named the head of the New York branch of this law firm, and we're moving to New York in January after the holidays. So everybody is upset, including mom, including the maids, including grandpa. Nobody wants to go to New York, but because dad says we're going to New York, we're going to New York. And we have to figure out how to tie up some of these storylines with the kids. There's like a Halloween thing where Tootie and what's the other girl's name?
Agnes.
Agnes, I got her name right here. Agnes Smith. They have to do something where they go and scare people and throw flour on them and stuff, and then it's got some kind of thing. Then they throw like stuff into a fire. That is something that was really an interesting little storyline with the girls. And then she gets hurt. Tootie gets hurt and says that the neighbor John Truitt scratched her or chased her or did something, and come to find out she's lying. And that set Esther off on John. And we think when we're watching, oh no, this relationship is ruined now. What were your thoughts on that scene?
That was the conflict I was waiting for, because up until then, like, it's cute and everything, and you can tell they both are really into each other, but just don't know how to express it. Then Tootie, being a little kid, of course, lies. And then she's just like, how could you do this? Like, you're like a bully and all that stuff. And like, she beats him up, and he just has to allow it because, even today, you should not hit a woman at all. We don't condone that whatsoever. And, he's like, what did I do? He's shocked. And I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna have some effect for a while, but turns out it was just a big misunderstanding. And later on in the film, she apologizes and she's like, hey, I'm sorry about this, I didn't know. And it was great, but it was a good some good raw emotion from Judy Garland as well, because you feel like that was her sister. And being an older sibling, I can tell you get very protective of your younger sibling or siblings. I can tell you that it's tough, but it's a very appropriate response to just be thinking irrationally, or you don't think about the bigger picture. You don't think, hey, maybe they're lying or not. So I thought it was very appropriate.
Yeah. All right. Now we have another situation where Rose is basically confronted with Warren. He's got another woman with him, that he's interested in another woman when they go to this dance, and that she has to take her grandpa to the dance. No, she takes who does she take to the dance? Esther takes grandpa, right?
Hold on, let me.
Esther takes grandpa.
Yeah, he did.
And Rose takes her brother to the dance.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to this Christmas ball, and they have to take their brother and their grandpa because their relationships have fallen to the wayside as they think they're falling to the wayside. And then Warren shows up with another girl, and the other girl goes, wait a minute here. Warren took me, but he really wants to be with you, Rose. And Rose and the girl that he's with, she wants to be with Rose's brother. I got his name here. What's his name?
Lon Jr.
Lon Jr. I got his name on here. I can't remember where I put it. Lon Jr. So these two end up getting together and they pair off. So it worked out for them. and then Grandpa is like showing up, and Esther's got this list of these dance partners that are supposed to belong to her sister. She's going to throw her sister under the bus and give her all these bad dance partners. And so she's stuck with all these bad dance partners until Grandpa takes over. And of course, we see at the end, near the end of the dance, somebody shows up. Elaborate on that whole ball and the whole dance partners, boyfriend, girlfriend, grandpa, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so this ball takes place on Christmas Eve. And Esther can't take John because John doesn't have a tuxedo because he left it. But thankfully, Grandpa steps in and is like, "Hey, I'll fill in until, you know, if he ever comes." And then, well, Esther fills up the dance card because back then you had like to fill out a card, which is weird now, but that was how they did it in the 1900s. To this visiting girl played by June Lockhart, who was she was the mom from Lost in Space, and she gets all these losers, and it's because Esther thinks that Lucille is a rival to Rose for Warren, but Lucille actually just wants to get with her brother, and she doesn't know it. So as revenge, she just like, okay, now you get all these guys. But then, of course, John comes somehow with the tuxedo, and yeah, they have an awesome dance, and he proposes because at this point in the movie they've built up the relationship. It's taken some time. Nowadays it seems incredibly rushed, but back then it was a pretty considerable amount of time, a good courtship.
Remember, the movie starts in the summer. We start in the summer and we end in this is that's 6 months.
Exactly. It's only been half a year, and the first half of the movie is very different from the second half of the movie, much like summer and winter. So I didn't catch that until I really thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah. And the second half, it's a little bit darker, honestly, because, you know, the whole move is happening and nobody wants to do it. Everybody's dreading it, especially Tootie. You see that towards the end when she has her little breakdown with just, I felt bad for those snowmen, man. I mean, she just goes to town on them right after the best song in the movie as well. Because the whole point of the songs is to serve a purpose in the plot and to move it along, and all the songs do that. And Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was supposed to comfort Tootie and pretty much everybody, including Esther herself. She's trying to comfort herself, like, hey, we're moving, might as well just go out with a big hurrah. And it's also, they're upset because they're going to have to miss the World's Fair because it's happening after they move and everything. So it was something very magical about it. Like, the costumes are great. The dancing is also wonderful. Like, up there with like Singing in the Rain, or
Oklahoma's got really good dancing.
Yeah, it's one of those classic musicals. Like any Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers sort of film, it has some great dancing. I mean, not as good as those guys, but you know, it's blocked well, it's shot really well. Everything is it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're right. And then you segued into the part of the movie that I was going to get to. That, of course, we have the end of the movie where Tootie is being consoled by Esther, and she sings "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." But the father, who isn't home, who comes home and sees her run down the stairs, sees her going down, chopping down the snowmen, and then he listens out the window as Esther and Tootie are talking is said, you know, and then he realizes he calls everybody down from being asleep, the ones that are asleep. He calls everybody down and he says, you know what? We're not going to New York. We're staying right here. And I'm going to tell these guys at the head of the law firm that we're not leaving. And I'm a junior partner. And I say I'm not leaving. I'm keeping my family here. It's in my best interest to keep my family right here in St. Louis. And everybody is like hugging and kissing and just, and then of course, fast forward to the spring when we have two marriages going on, and we have the World's Fair, the end of the movie, which is, of course, something they allude to at the beginning of the movie, the marriages and the World's Fair. So they go full circle around to the end of the movie. And what are your final thoughts about this film, the ending of the movie, your overall opinion of this film and why it's such an essential film for everybody to watch, Billy?
Okay, so that last scene really got me because I actually had to move halfway through high school and I had to start all new and stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't stay, but I could totally understand Tootie's frustrations with like moving to a new town and, you know, starting over and everything. And I don't have an older sibling, so I didn't relate to that, but it's just a great scene of just letting it all out. Like Judy Garland's just doing her best to comfort Tootie, and it's a very good scene. And especially when I love the father's reaction as well. He just sits there. He just takes it all in, and then he decides that moment. He's like, okay, if nobody else is excited about this, he's not even really excited. I mean, it's just something he has to do. Like he's like, no, nobody is on board with this. We might as well just. He's like, screw it. I might get in trouble, but I'm gonna stay for my family. And you know, everybody. It's the classic Hollywood happy ending that has become a staple for a reason. And, you know, all the love interests remain, you know, love interests, but everyone seems to be getting together. And Rose's boyfriend, Warren, like, he's like, I love you and all that stuff. And they're going to marry as soon as possible, which she's like, it's about time. And I really loved it. And then, of course, you get the Meet Me in St. Louis song that everybody watches or everybody sings, and it's just a good coming together finale that you feel like it's earned throughout all this because they all worked at having these relationships, just worked at having a good life and having that life remain where they belong. Because like home is where St. Louis is their home, and they can't abandon their home. It's as much a part of their family as their family is. It's just one of those places. Like there are some people that will never leave cities that they grew up in or anything like that. Or, I mean, people move all the time, realistically, but it's nice to see that all of that was worth it. And yeah, it was just a great ending cap. Like you started with this optimistic note of, you know, me in St. Louis, and then it ends pretty much with the same way. And if I'm recalling correctly, I believe there's fireworks as well. But yeah, there's fireworks. And I remember like one of the oldest memories I had was as a little kid. It was the 4th of July and we were in the city at the Arch, and there was just this giant screen. It was just playing all of these songs, and then the last one they played was, of course, Meet Me in St. Louis. and everybody knew the lyrics. And if they didn't, they had it like on this giant screen and this amazing, amazing fireworks display that I just remember there was a lot of red, greens, blues, pretty much any color you could think of. And yeah, it was such a just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I feel like an idiot for not watching this sooner. But yeah, I'm going to join my mom because my mom watches this every single year. She has a DVD and she has said, I watch it at some point every year. And I am now going to watch it with her because there's only two movies that we watch together every year. And one of them is The Sound of Music. And now the second one will be Meet Me in St. Louis.
Well, that's fantastic, Billy. Yeah, my family moved a lot as well. I moved 9 times by the time I was 18 years old. So this really it hit a chord with me with the moving part of it because I didn't want to move. I live in Florida now, and I've lived here for 25 years, and I did not want to move to Florida. And I just found a way to make my life here in Florida work and whatnot. And so I've been living here for 25 years and pretty much in the same house. But yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis, what a wonderful film. It's a heartwarming film. It gives you an optimism about life, relationship, family, and stuff like that. And it shows you that a town like St. Louis, which I don't know anything about St. Louis because I've never been there, but you're from there and you know what a wonderful place it is to live and be from, and you're proud to be from that part of the country. It shows me that I should go visit St. Louis someday. I should come visit you, Billy, and your mom, and go see the Arch, and we should go skipping down the street singing "Meet Me in St. Louis."
God, no. Oh man, you made fun of so badly. But no, there's plenty of stuff to do here, and I would gladly show you especially the Arch. I haven't been to the Arch in a couple of years, and I really need to go back. But it's a wonderful city. I'm glad to be from it, and I'm glad to introduce people to my home because I mean Missouri is my home. It always will be, and yeah, just like the Cardinals will always be my baseball team, as the Red Sox will be yours. It was just a wonderful, wonderful movie that I'm so glad I had the chance to watch, and I'm glad it's not a very hard film to find either. It's relatively easy to find. They have it on like Amazon, or you can find it on DVD or Blu-ray and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to find, and it's celebrated for a good reason. And just really to end this, gotta quote the other famous Judy Garland film and say, whole message, funny enough, is just like that. There's no place like home.
Good job, Billy. All right, so for Billy and myself, where can you be found, Billy?
You can find me on Twitter at BBusterBill. All the B's are capitalized. You can find me on Facebook at Billy Pollihan. It's just my name. And just send me a message or give me a follow, and I will gladly respond. I love meeting new people. I love talking movies. I love just learning about people's different cultures and all that stuff. And yeah, you can pretty much find me on most social media platforms. Usually it's just my name or Blockbuster Bill or anything like that. But yeah, hit me up.
Yep, Billy, he's saying the right thing because that's how we met. We just he was just involved in social media and some groups and stuff, and he just started being a regular guy, and that's how we become friends. And I realized how much he loved movies and stuff, and so that's why I got him to do some of these episodes because I knew he loved movies, classic movies. He's a big fan of classic film, even though he's a young guy. You can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, or this channel on YouTube, the Best Damn Movie Show channel, where I host a show called The Top 5 Weekly. We had to hold off on the year anniversary episode because of Hurricane Irma. So this coming Saturday, we'll be doing the year anniversary episode. And of course, you can always look forward to more episodes of the 52 must-see movies and why they matter, which we get right from this very book right here. So for Billy and myself, good night.